everyone, welcome to Lipstick on a Rig. Today we're going to be making this super easy and super warm beanie. For this project I'm going to be using size 4 medium weight acrylic yarn, but this project will work with any yarn even if it isn't the same size, weight, brand, or type. And it's important to note that if you're using yarn that is the same color, you're going to need 2 strands, so you can either divide a skein in half or grab 2 skeins of the same color. And we're going to begin this by attaching the yarn to our crochet hook with a slip knot and chaining 5. And if you're unfamiliar with any of the stitches used in this tutorial, then please check the links in the description because I will have my stitch tutorials listed down there. And once you have your 5 chains in place, go ahead and turn them over so that you can access these back bumps back here. And what we're going to do is we're going to place 1 slip stitch in each of our back bumps going all the way across our row. And that includes the stitch that is directly beside your crochet hook. So when you get to the end of your row, you should have a total of 5 slip stitches. And when you get to the end of your row, chain 1 and turn your work. And from here, we're going to place 1 slip stitch in the back loop only of each stitch in our row. And we're going to skip that turning chain. So go ahead and place 1 slip stitch in each of your back loops only, so you have a total of 5 slip stitches when you get to the end of your row. And when you get to the end of your row, you're just going to chain 1 and turn your work again. And from here, we're just going to repeat that last row, placing 1 slip stitch in the back loop only of each stitch in our row, chaining 1 and turning our work. And we're just going to repeat that until the brim reaches your desired length, which for me is going to be about 17 inches. So go ahead and repeat this until you get the brim to your desired length. And once you've gotten this to your desired length, go ahead and fold your 2 short ends together. And just make sure that you've ended on the opposite side of your starting tail like this, and that you've placed your last chain stitch at the end of your last row. So from here, insert your crochet hook up underneath that last stitch that you made before your chain stitch. And then you're going to insert your crochet hook in this corresponding stitch on the opposite edge, so the last stitch on that edge. And from here, you're just going to want to yarn over and pull through all the loops on your crochet hook for a slip stitch. And then you're going to just repeat the steps for that stitch over and over until you get to the end of your row. So you should have a total of 5 stitches joining these 2 edges together. I went ahead and turned my brim inside out, and then I sectioned it off into 4 equal parts. And what we're going to do is place 17 slip stitches in the available loops in each of our 4 sections so that we have a total of 68 total slip stitches when we get to the end of our row. So to get started, just insert your crochet hook in an available loop along your edge, and then just place a slip stitch. So go ahead and repeat this until you have your 68 slip stitches. And once you have your 68 slip stitches in place, then all you're going to want to do is follow a continuous loop pattern, which means we won't be starting or stopping each individual row, but instead it's going to act like more of a spiral. So we're going to be working in these front loops, so just this loop right here. And what we're going to do is just place 1 slip stitch in each of our front loops only, going all the way along our row. And we're just going to repeat that to build the body of our beanie. So we'll be repeating this for multiple rows. And as you can see here, you should be able to transition smoothly between your rows, so you won't have to add a chain or a slip stitch or anything like that, and it should act like more of a spiral. I went ahead and added 22 rows of placing 1 slip stitch in the front loop only of each stitch in my row. And from here we're going to start a decreasing pattern. And the pattern for this row is to place 1 slip stitch in the front loop only of your first 2 stitches. Then we're going to skip our 3rd stitch and dive right into the 4th stitch with a slip stitch in our front loop only. And that's going to be our pattern going all the way around the row. So when you get to the end of your row, you should have a total of 51 stitches. And when it comes to your very last set of stitches after you've placed your first 2 slip stitches in the front loop only, when you go to skip your 3rd stitch and dive into your 4th stitch, this is also going to be the first stitch of the next row. And the pattern for this row is to place 1 slip stitch in the front loop only of our first stitch, which we've already done here. And we're going to skip our 2nd stitch and place a slip stitch in the front loop only of our 3rd. So you're just going to want to repeat that going all the way around your row, and when you get done, you should have a total of 34 stitches. And the pattern for the next couple of rows is just going to be to skip your next stitch and place a slip stitch in the front loop only of your next stitch. And you're just going to repeat this pattern until your hole becomes very small. And once your hole is very small, then you're going to place a slip stitch in the loops on the opposite edge of that hole to sort of close up the gap. And then we're going to cut and tie off our yarn. And in the description, I will link to my DIY pom-pom maker. Please let me know in the comments below if you experienced any issues while you were making this, and I will do my best to help you out. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel, Lipstick on a Rig. Thank you so much for working with me, and I hope you have a wonderful, awesome day.